So you just found out that your spouse is cheating, but he or she doesn't know that you know. And you're thinking, okay, what's the next step? What do I do? Do I go confront them directly? Do I go find somebody to help me? How do I handle this? My first suggestion would be make sure that whatever source you have that's telling you that your spouse is cheating is a reliable and valid source. Because there are people out there who will just see something and make a judgment about it that's totally wrong. When I was a young man, I was riding with an older man one day. We were going out to look for some worms to dig so we could go fishing. It was a long time ago. And as we went down this old country road, we happened to pass a guy that we knew sitting in his car, and there was a woman sitting in the car with him that was not his wife. And the older gentleman looked at me and said, "Man, I wish we hadn't seen that." I said, "Seen what?" He said, "That man committing adultery." I said, "You have much better eyesight than I do." All I saw was them sitting in the car. Now, might that be an illicit relationship? Sure, it's possible. But might it be that there's another situation altogether we don't know about? Maybe she's talking to him for marriage help about her husband. Maybe she owes him money and she's asking him. I mean, it could be 1,000 different things. Now, it doesn't look good. If they're sitting on that country road, just the two of them on the side of the road, it looks terrible. But don't make the assumption that necessarily means they're having an affair. And so I would say, look at the reliability of whatever or whoever it is telling you that the affair is occurring. Now, if the person is not highly reliable, you need to wait a while and watch and pay attention. Now, there's another thing here. Sometimes we have people tell us, well, how I found out is that my husband was asleep and I knew the password for his phone. And so I sneaked it into the living room and used his password. And that's where I found the text. That could be about a husband. It could be about a wife. Sometimes it's even the teenage child who will do that. I know my dad or my mom was up to something, and so when they were asleep, I took their phone, I know the password, I found what they did. Or I looked in their computer, or I hacked their email, or I put something under their car so I can know where they are and what they're doing all the time, et cetera, et cetera. And you say, well, isn't that legitimate? It is if you want to do it, but you understand that our experience over 30 years has been that if you do something like that, then when you finally do confront your spouse by what it is that they're doing or with what it is that they're doing wrong, a vast majority of the time, their response is not, "You're right, I'm wrong, let's deal with this," although that happens sometimes. But if they're caught by you doing something sneaky, violating their privacy, if you'll allow me to use that phrase, then the vast majority of the time, based on my experience with thousands of couples, is that the response is going to be, "How dare you? That was my phone. That was my email. That was my car. You had no right on earth to do what you did to track me down." And all of a sudden, it's not about what they're doing. It's about you violating their privacy. Therefore, if you want to do it that way, like I'm going to get a private detective or I'm going to put a GPS tracker in the car or whatever it might be, we recommend that if that's what you choose to do, be sure that you're ready for a divorce. Because one great likelihood is that's where it's going to lead, because now they won't be dealing with the problem of what they've done. They'll be dealing with what they feel that you have done. And you might be saying, but okay, what if I already know that anyway? And you're telling me that I shouldn't go to my husband and say, I hacked your email, or I shouldn't go to my person and said, I sneaked into your phone. Well, you can if you wish. But my recommendation would be this. Go to your spouse when a time when there's no other distraction. No football game on television, nobody's cutting the lawn. I mean, you're sitting out on a patio or the front porch or something where it's just the two of you and there's nobody else around, just the two of you. And you look at your spouse and say, I have a very strong feeling that something's wrong with our marriage. Now, the spouse is going to semi-panic but try to remain calm. And in that case, they're going to say something such as, I don't think there's anything wrong. What are you talking about? And when they say, what are you talking about? They're probing to see what you know. And if you say, well, I feel that the fact that I don't know where you are a lot of time makes me worry about where you are and what you're doing. They'll defend themselves in all likelihood. Well, you just got to trust me. I'm not being a bad guy. Understand that when people are doing something wrong, they will lie. They'll lie right to your face. He said, then why would I be bringing that up if I think that they're going to lie to me? You're going to bring it up in a fashion like that where you're not making a direct accusation. You're telling them what you feel or what you think because you're preparing the stage for what's going to come later. At some point, you need to find some documentation that you did not try to get. Almost always it shows up somewhere, somehow. Almost always. A friend of his or hers will finally tell you what's going on. Or their phone will ring one day and they're in the bathtub, and so you just innocently answer it for them. And you get the bad news that way. Or whatever it might be. Or a letter comes in the mail and you've always open all the mail, and so you open the mail and it's a love note from the other person. I mean, there are all kinds of ways where this can be revealed. And if you want to find out by prying, do so, but it's probably going to turn out bad. Wait for your opportunity, pay attention, look for what's happening. And then you can also put your spouse on awareness. Because I feel things are not going right, because I worry about the time you're not with me. Here's a request I make of you. If you're going to be late, will you call and tell me where you are? As a matter of fact, just to give me some reassurance, where I can feel good about myself, would we just put a thing on your telephone where I always know where you are? To which they're going to reply something about, you don't trust me, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to live like that, etc. And you look at them and say, I understand. I know how that would lead you to feel controlled. And so I understand how you feel. I'm asking you to understand how I feel. I need this help. Will you do this for me? Now, you say, Dr. Beam, what if they still won't do it? Well, then at some point, some way, you have to have some affirmation that it really is happening, hopefully not by prying, but some affirmation that it's actually happening. And when you do have that, that's when you go back to them and say, okay, I know what's going on. And when they say, how do you know? My recommendation would be you say, you're hiding things from me right now, and so therefore I don't feel like I should reveal everything to you. If we get down the road somewhere, we're trying to save this marriage, I'll be glad to reveal everything when you're glad to reveal everything. But right now, I'm just going to let you know that I know. I have evidence. I have proof. I know that this is happening. Now, what are we going to do about it? And you let them talk. You listen to them. If they continue to deny, you just listen. You don't argue. You don't yell. You don't scream. What you finally at some point say is, I hear that. And I understand that you're trying to convince me that's not happening. But what you need to hear is, I have definitive proof. I know for a fact that it's happening. Therefore, we're going to have to deal with this in some fashion. And if he or she still denies it and says, I swear nothing's going on, then you say, okay, then we're back to what I asked a few minutes ago. Help me have the reassurance. Come home on time. If you're not going to be home on time, let me have an access to where your cell phone is located. Let me handle the money so I know if any money is being spent, et cetera, et cetera. And if they say, I can't live with you if you're going to be that controlling, you say, I understand how you feel. I'm asking you to understand how I feel. I don't want to be controlling. I just want to be assured. And I don't want to live like that the rest of our lives. But until I can be absolutely assured that you're not doing that and that you're trying to put this marriage back together, then these are things I have to have. Now, don't put anything in that list unless it would be a deal breaker if your spouse doesn't do it. Don't put something in there that would be like, oh, in every 15 minutes you've got to call and tell me you love me. No. Only put deal breakers in there. If you don't do this, it's a deal breaker. What does that mean? It means there's going to be consequences for your behavior. Because I cannot live with this knowing that you're doing what's wrong, what's bad, you're hurting me. And while I love you and really want to fix this, I really would love to fix this, I can't live being cheated on and lied to. We have to do something. And at that point, we would recommend that you have some path of action that you would suggest to the other person. such as I've already talked to the people at MH International. They're called Marriage Helper. And I've already found out when their next couples workshop is going to be. And I would like for you to go to the couples workshop with me. Or if you might say, okay, I know that this other thing is happening. You've got to have some course of action is what I'm saying. Like something to go forward to. Something we're going to do. If you say, well, I don't want to bring him over to your workshop to begin with or bring her to your workshop to begin with, that's certainly you're right. We are not the be all end all. But have some course of action, like let's go talk to our minister together. Or let's go talk to this counselor together. I know who he or she is. I've done some work. I have found the right counselor. You say, what do you mean the right counselor? I just heard a story again yesterday about how that a couple went to a marriage counselor. And in the first visit with the marriage counselor, the wife said, I don't want to be married to him. I want a divorce. To which the marriage counselor, according to what this guy is telling the story, he's the husband, he said, the counselor looked at me and said, I can't help you. If she wants a divorce, then I can't help you at all. You might as well just go ahead and leave. That'll be $100 or whatever the fee was. And this guy said, I thought you were in the business of helping to save marriages. He said, no, I'm in the business of helping people to be happy with what they want. If you're going to go see a marriage counselor, make sure you don't go see one like that. Ask them some questions up front about what they believe, what they do, etc. And always ask, are you going to see me as the client, my spouse as the client, or the marriage as the client? If they say, I don't know what you mean, thank them and hang up. Find one where the marriage will be the client. But you see, you have to have some path of action. You can't just confront and hope that something occurs. In the confrontation, you have to have a path out. Like, okay, we're going to go to this 3-day workshop with Marriage Helper, or we're going to go see this counselor I've already vetted, or we're going to go see our minister at church, and we're going to be all open and honest with him. And I'm still insisting that you have to give me this calculative trust. Calculative trust? Mm-hmm. It means I have to have ways to know what you're doing, not for the rest of our lives, but at least for the next few months so I can feel safe. And if he or she continues to say, you're not going to control me like that, I'm not going to do that, say, I understand. But I'm asking you to understand how I feel. Therefore, if you won't do that, I'm going to have to get some legal protection. I don't want to divorce you. I want to save the marriage. But if you won't do what it takes for me to trust you, I'm going to have to find an attorney and find out what protections I need in case you really are doing those things, which, by the way, we both know that you are. You're just denying. Now, a couple of important things to remember when you do that confrontation. First of all, don't do it on speculation. We've already said that. Make sure that you have definitive proof that you know it's actually happening. Secondly, don't attack in front of anybody else. Don't embarrass them. Don't show them up. Sometimes people think that's the way we're going to do it. I'll announce this in the middle of a group of friends so my spouse will be so embarrassed I'm going to hurt him or her like they've hurt me. Don't do that. Don't go to somebody else first. Oh, I'm going to tell your parents about how you're being unfaithful to me. I'm going to tell our preacher, not us together, but me. I'm going to go tell our minister what you're doing. Or I'm going to tell our kids what you're doing. I'm going to throw you under the bus. Don't do those things. Now, you say, won't there be a time when those people might need to know? Yes, but not before you confront your spouse. Those are people who need to know those things later in life. You don't want to be threatening him or her by saying, I've already told so-and-so, I've already told these people, I've already set the stage where the people already know what you're doing wrong. Your name is mud, okay. Right at this point, your name is mud already, and therefore, you better straighten up. Because if you go ahead and throw them under the bus before you confront and start dealing with this, just the two of you, there's a much greater likelihood that he or she will walk out the door. If you've already ruined me with my friends, you've already destroyed my reputation with my church, with my boss, with my kids, with whatever, I can't be with you either, and I can't live with all of them knowing I'm gone. Now, again, you might be saying, Dr. Beam, but don't they need to know? Not necessarily. Just the other day, a lady said, my grown children don't know what my husband is doing. I think I'm going to tell them. How should I tell them? My response is, don't. My opinion is that you go talk to your husband to begin with, and if the two of you together can resolve or solve this, what good is there for the kids to know? Now, if it comes to the point where it becomes public knowledge, then yes, your kids should know. But that is something you do after you and your husband have this talk, not before you and your husband do this talk. And the best thing to do then is to ask your husband to go with you to talk to your children so that he, in that case, it could be your wife in your case, that they can hear you tell where you're doing, what you're doing, where you're going, what your future is going to be as best you're planning it, et cetera, et cetera. And I promise you that when you tell those people, whether it's our minister, whether it's our counselor, whether it's our children, I promise you that I'm not going to throw you under the bus. If they look at me and say, how do I feel about it? I'll tell them. It hurts. I want to save my marriage. I still love you. But I'm not going to call you wicked, evil, or anything like that. So the confrontation is not to destroy your spouse. The confrontation is to try to intervene with your spouse and change the path that he or she is on. Now, if you go to our website, marriagehelper.com, marriagehelper.com, and in the little search engine on our website, type in intervention, that word intervention, it will take you to a page that has 2 45-minute audios that are free. And there's also a PDF there that's like, I think, 35 or 40 pages. Now, that tells you how to handle it past the initial confrontation. Now, don't go get those things and start with them. But if you do the initial confrontation and your spouse still won't listen to you, but you have definitive proof, and as other people become aware of it, not that you're throwing your spouse under the bus, you've already had this talk to him or her, and you might say in that talk, okay, I want to rescue this marriage. I still love you. I'm going to ask a couple of people to come with me to talk to you. They're not going to like that, of course, but you're telling them ahead of time. You're not sneaking up on them. And you tell them who those people are going to be. And I'm not even going to try to throw you under the bus. I'm just looking for some help here. And then you go to that particular page, and you can listen to the audios. You can download the PDF. If you have people that are going to be going with you to confront your spouse. Now, this is not the first confrontation. The first confrontation should be just between the two of you. But if you have people that go with you to make that utter confrontation, then please do it exactly as it's outlined in that PDF, exactly as it's explained in those 2 audios. You say, why exactly? It's based on the Alcoholics Anonymous model of how to do an intervention. Now, it's changed because it's dealing not just with alcohol, it's dealing with mostly marriage situations there. But they have learned over the years what's the most valid way to do things and what's the way you shouldn't be doing things, and what is most likely to work and what's least likely to work. And therefore, you don't only go to a couple of buddies who say, okay, where's fishing buddies? And we're going to go with you because we already knew about the affair. We knew it was happening, and we're with you. It shouldn't. We're going to go confront him. Then you say, listen to these. And then we're going to read the PDF together, and then we're going to have a meeting of what we're going to do before we go see him the first time. And if they say, we've known him for 25 years, we don't need to have a meeting like that. We know exactly what to do. Don't take those guys because they won't do it correctly. There's actually a process that works. Again, developed by the Alcoholics Anonymous people, but there's actually a process that works. And if that's going to happen, make sure you take people who will work through that process, see how to do it, and do it exactly like it's written there. And that will give you the greatest chance. Now, one other thing about that. In the AA model, it's often the 5th intervention before somebody will finally decide to do something. And every intervention, every time you do it, you have to have, this is what we're asking you to do. These are the consequences if you don't do it. Even in the initial confrontation where it's just you, this is what I'm asking you to do. And this is what I'm going to have to do if you don't do it. I know you think I'm trying to control you. I'm not. I'm trying to save our marriage because I love you. Well, hopefully I haven't made this too confusing. You can always get help from one of our coaches. They're amazing at helping you look back through that model and know exactly how to do it. But did you get at least the idea? Privately, with proper evidence, not throwing the spouse under the bus, being calm, not attacking, not screaming, not calling them names, being as calm as you can be, because calmness in the situation equals strength. And once you confront them, you have to have a path forward already planned, already laid out. Ask them to do that. Call us if we can help you.